For Halloween, I created an epic haunted castle, with a twist. Instead of being perched on a cliff, this spooky castle is located in the enormous skull of an ancient monster. What was this fearsome creature? How did it meet its end? And perhaps, strangest of all, why do people now claim these weathered bones as their home? For the build, we're going to start by making the gigantic skeleton. Once that's done, a spooky village will be nestled in its ribs. The village buildings will overlap, shaped almost as if the skeleton still has lungs, with a clock tower in the shape of a human heart. Perhaps this clock hints at what became of the giant from the ancient past. Next, we'll create the castle in the skull. There will be a dark crown on the skull's head serving as the castle's towers, a balcony in the jaw, and even a large eye-shaped window. Finally, we'll complete the build with a graveyard scattered at the base, where generations of souls have been put to rest. With that all laid out, let's get started. I begin with a sphere and start to shape it into the skull. It's a bit like working with clay, trying to get the right shape and size. As was said earlier, this skull is from ancient times. The monster it belonged to came from an age when giant creatures ruled the earth. Those were wild days, and the beasts were their own doom as they destroyed each other due to their bloodlust and desire for power. In time, this giant is all that remained of their kind, the lone victor of a devastating war. But we'll find out this monster's fate soon. Continuing with the skull, I fix the jaw and add in the teeth, including giant fangs. Then I start to carve out the eye sockets and nose. I'm using colored concrete right now, so that I can be sure to get the shape right. Later, I'll come back and paint it to be a more realistic color. To finish the skull, I add in the indents on the side of the head, so that it isn't just a smooth sphere. Then I move on to the spine. It was tricky getting the curve of it right. I had to try a few times, marking a path for it and making adjustments. I then carve out the different segments of the spinal cord, all the way down. Now it's time to add in the ribs. On a regular rib cage, the ribs would reach all the way around, connecting into the sternum. However, we're putting a village in this one, so we can't have the view of the houses blocked. Perhaps in time the ribs cracked and the sternum crumbled away. Here I realized I wanted the skull to be bigger, as I planned to add interiors for our haunted castle. So I scale the skeleton up. It's finally time to paint all that colorful concrete to be a typical bone white hue. At first I tried to add in shading and definition, using smooth sandstone, birch, and oak. However, I felt this contrast too much with the stark white of the quartz, so I switched it to calcite, white concrete, and diorite instead. The skeleton is complete, so next up is the village, which brings us to the next part of our tale of this ancient creature. This monster is practically immortal, only able to die if it was killed. And being the last of its kind, it seemed the creature would reign forever. It saw the dawn of mankind, and humanity lived in constant fear of their ancient and powerful overlord. This fear was justified, as the beast saw humans as no more than ants and was cruel in its tyranny. All seemed hopeless. But then, humanity made a discovery that would change everything. What they found will be revealed in time, but a hero among them was able to slay the monster with this discovery, and thus free all people. Now, many centuries later, humans have created a home in the bones of their past nightmare. Ironically, where once the monster brought only fear and destruction, its remains now shelter the humans that have settled there, keeping them off the ground and away from the dangerous, although much smaller, monsters that arise each night in the dark. As a symbol of their past, the villagers have constructed their houses roughly in the shape of a pair of lungs and painted the walls red. Perhaps they can't help being a bit dramatic, but it's fitting for the tale of how they came to free themselves and inherit the earth. As you can see, it's quite dark in the ribs, but this will change as we add in the windows, giving light and life to the spooky village. The people that live here have built their homes in a sort of mix of Gothic and Tudor styles, with spiky roof lines, ornate detailing around the windows, and plenty of crisscrossing wooden beams and eaves. It gives off the perfect vibes for Halloween, which is sure to be celebrated as a day of remembering the terrible monster's defeat. With the village all done, it's time for the haunted castle, starting with its menacing towers that make up the skull's crown. The family that lives in this castle is descended from the hero that slayed the monster all those centuries ago. There are rumors circling the village that they are no ordinary people. Words are whispered around the fireside that in slaying the ancient monster, the hero became part beast himself. But of course, these are only rumors, right? As I had done with the skeleton, I sculpt the crown from concrete first, before painting it in a dark gradient, adding in redstone for that touch of red that matches the village below. I paint this block palette all the way around before... Okay guys, quick fourth wall break. I added windows to the crown, but when I tried to render that footage, my computer kept crashing. So, you're gonna have to trust me on this one. Windows happened. Wow, cool, amazing. Anyway, back to the video. With the crown done, I go to the jaw and start building a balcony, where the mysterious family can look out on the lands below. I built a big door into the castle, and add in some windows and arches for soulfires. Next, I start on the skull's eye sockets, building a large, eye-shaped window in one. For the other eye socket, I wanted it to remain dark, but I didn't want the walls to just be blank. So, I put in 3 more traditionally shaped windows, keeping them dark as though no lights were on behind them. I go back to the village, as there is one remaining piece I haven't added in yet, the mechanical heart. This is the village's clock tower, and just like the lung-shaped layout of their town and all the red paint, they chose the clock's design based on their past. According to the legend, humanity's hero struck down the giant by piercing it through its heart. A hint of the weapon can be seen on the clock tower itself. I think it's past time we found out what humanity's great discovery and weapon was. You see, in order for the giant to be the last ancient beast, there had to have been a second to last one. A single final member of its kind that it defeated. This monster was made of enormous crystals, and when it fell, its remains lay there, hard as diamond and intact with no way for it to rot. Humanity came to realize that the only way to slay the ancient monster was with an ancient monster, or in this case, its remains. So they forged an enchanted crystal shard from this fallen beast's remains, and put it in the hand of the hero who slew the last great monster. To commemorate this, crystal shards can be seen in the clock tower, and when the ancient giant collapsed, enormous crystals sprouted from the ground, marking its demise. With that, our tale is complete. All that's left is to add in the gravestones of the people that have called this miraculous place their home over the centuries. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. It helps out more than you know. I ran out of time to add interiors to the haunted castle before Halloween, but if you're interested in seeing those in the future, you can follow my Instagram. And with that, I hope you have a spooky night.